Thank you for tuning in to the Keeping It Real with KC podcast, a no judgment zone podcast that covers lifestyle, entertainment, news, and sports. Even though KC doesn't watch sports, but these are minor details. By the way, he reads tarot cards too. Yes, I really mean it. He reads tarot cards too. And now, the host you've tuned in for, KC Phoenix.
Thank you for tuning in again to the Keeping It Real with KC podcast. I decided to do a daily thought this morning. So, yeah, here we are. Before I go any further, kirwkc.com, main podcasting platform. This podcast is carried on Apple, Spotify, Google, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Overcast, Bullhorn, Amazon Music, Audible, and several other podcasting platforms. Please feel free to listen to this podcast on whatever platform is most convenient for you. KIRWKC on all the social media platforms. I was thinking about something, and one thing about me, and my longtime listeners know this, my Firebirds, you already know this. I run my race. As a matter of fact, I have an episode called Run Your Race. Don't worry about what other people are doing. Focus on what you are doing. And I decided to do this daily thought because I heard this probably maybe 2 weeks to a month ago when someone had said about competition. They said, when you compete with others, you become bitter. When you compete with yourself, you become better. And that's always been my thing. I think that's why I've never been pressed with certain things, because I'm always competing with myself. I'm always running my race. And it amazes me how people get bogged down in this whole competition thing from time to time. And don't get me wrong. I mean, competition is healthy. It can be healthy, but you can be in a competition and still compete with yourself. You can run your race even though you're in a competition with someone else. Don't worry about what they're doing. Just do you. And be the best you that you can be. You have situations sometimes where people attempt to force you into a competition. Because it's just human nature. Because competition is almost synonymous with compare or comparison. Because they feel that the only way to determine who's the best is to compare them and put them in a competition against each other. It happened with Whitney Houston and Mariah Carey. I'm sure it's happened with Beyonce and Rihanna. It's happened, I'm sure, with, you want to say, Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk. Take your pick when it comes to things like that. But I can tell you, most of those people, they didn't really probably care. They were just running their race. I mean, some of them might have cared, but they're just running their race. Same thing with siblings. They put you in competition. People used to do that with me and my brother all the time. They used to compare me and my brother all the time. They're like, you're like this, your brother's like that, da 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 da, and all this other stuff. And I'm just like, oh, okay. And my brother, who I've mentioned, and I talk to my brother from time to time. It's every blue moon. We don't talk that often for a few reasons. One of the reasons we don't talk that often is because he works a lot. The other reason we don't talk that often is because I don't have a lot to talk about with him. I love him. He's my brother. I'll always love my brother. if I don't, in these days, I really don't have a lot to talk about with much of anyone, even the people that I would be considered close with on a conversational level. Because my brother and we've never been close on a conversational level. And that's fine. Because just because someone's family doesn't mean that you have to talk to them every day or every other day or this or that, and you don't still love them. Because like my dad, I literally have not talked with my dad in almost 2 months, give or take, which I'll probably call my dad this weekend maybe. But my dad is the best man that I've ever met in my life. There isn't any man that I've ever met, period, like my dad. There just isn't. And when it comes to my dad, there is no competition. There just isn't. Because so many things that my dad has done over the years. My dad is the first person who taught me about unconditional love. So my love for my dad, what's that song, River Deep Mountain High? That my love for my dad is unparalleled, period. And I haven't talked to my dad in almost 2 months, give or take. So talking on the phone doesn't minimize one's love for another person. So with my brother, conversationally, we haven't had that much to talk about over the years. And that's fine. But as I mentioned earlier, people would compare us, and I'm just kind of like, all right, I guess. It was annoying. But my brother was running his race, and I was running mine, and he's still running his race, and I'm still running mine. We don't get into all of that stuff. We just don't. If something amazing happens for him, great. I'm always rooting for my brother. I have another episode, I will root for you. And that's no matter who you are. If you want to be the first person to cure cancer, I will root for you. If you want to be the first female president, I'll root for you. I'm not saying I'll vote for you, but I'll root for you. If you want to, and what I mean by that is obviously it depends on your politics and things like that. Not the female part, because I love women. I actually mesh well with women better than I do men, but these are minor details. You know, if you want to start your own landscaping business, I will root for you. If you decide you want to become an OnlyFans creator, I'll still root for you. As long as you're not hurting anyone. That's my thing. As long as you're not physically hurting anyone, I'm more than likely going to root for you. That's what I will do, because I'm not a hater. I don't hate on people when success comes into their life. One thing I've always noticed about myself is that even when I'm on the outside looking in, if I see somebody in a nice car, I'm usually happy for that person. Even though I don't know if they can afford their car payments or if they're behind on all their other bills or this or that. I don't know what their financial situation is. But if I see someone in a nice car, and not saying that material things are the pinnacle of success, because it's not. Because if you ask me what the pinnacle of success is, it's excellent health. Health will always trump money. I'll take health over money anyway, any day. So let's get that straight. Health and being in your right mind I'll always take that over money any day. Now, I'm not saying I won't turn down the money, because I want the money. But if I'm forced to, it's like, okay, you can have the excellent health or you can have lots of money. I'll be like, I'll take the excellent health for 500, Alex. So yeah, it's one of those things. But when I see someone in a nice car or in a nice house, or I see someone who can do something amazing, like with the Olympics, the gymnast, stuff like that, the swimmers, the people who can go on hikes and stay in the wilderness for days. I'm happy for those people that they have been able to either acquire the material things or acquire the skills or acquire and maintain the discipline. If someone has a great physique, I'm happy for them. You know, if a woman has a great shape, I'm happy for her. I wouldn't hate on her. Even whether the shape is artificial or not. And artificial meaning that she had some enhancements done. That's fine, because after you pay for it, it's yours then. Last time I checked. I don't judge people who get cosmetic surgery. It's not for me personally. But for those who do get cosmetic surgery, if that's what you want to do to make yourself feel better, or if that's something that was on your spirit, that you decided, you're like, hey, I want to have this done to my body, and it's an amazing improvement and it looks great on you, I'm rooting for you. I'm happy for you. That's my thing. And you know what? As I'm saying this out loud, I honestly feel that when it comes to the competition thing, I believe that if people would focus on being happy for other people, when something happens, when they do something amazing, or when they lose the 15 pounds and get the washboard abs, or when they gain the 15 pounds and all this other stuff, and the big arms, the guns, and everything, if they could be happy for those people, instead of being bitter about it, that will make a difference too. That's in addition to. That's an in addition to type situation of competing with yourself. Compete with you. Don't focus on what others are doing. If you can't be happy for someone, then just don't focus on it. But I tell you what would make it easier for you to focus on yourself is to be happy for other people when they get their accomplishments. There was an article that Yahoo News did on my brother, because my brother's the CEO of a company, and a very well-known company. And my mother had sent it to me. I glanced over it. And I was like, oh, that's great. You know, that's awesome. Like, kudos to him. But it wasn't a thing of, oh, well, my brother, they just wrote a news article on Yahoo News about my brother and the job he's doing and all this other stuff at the company. And I'm like, well, I need to, hire a publicist and do this so I can get into Yahoo News or get into this or get into that. Because I've had a publicist before as well as running a publicity company too. But I wasn't in that energy. I was happy. And I was also in the energy of, okay, that's great. I'm focusing on me. I'm running my race. Like, love you to pieces, bro. Glad you made it in the news again, because that's not the first time he's been in the news. But I'm focusing on me, and me doing that keeps me in the in the frame of getting better instead of getting bitter. I've never been bitter about my brother's accomplishments. I've always been happy for my brother's accomplishments and everything that he has done. My brother has worked his ass off for years on top of years on top of years. And I'm always happy for him. I'm always happy for people like him. I'm always happy for people when they are winning, because I want everyone to win. Because I'm of the belief that there is so much abundance in this universe that everyone can win. Everyone. Now, can everyone consistently win all the time? No. You're not going to win all the time. Like, that get boring. But can everyone win? Yes. You may not win one thing, but you'll have the chance to win another. There's too much abundance out here. And obviously you can't win all the time because it won't be balanced. There has to be balance to everything. And that's what the universe is about. It's about balance. That's why you have the light and you have the dark. It can't just be light all the time, and it can't just be dark all the time. There has to be balance. But you don't want to get into that dark energy, that low frequency of, oh, I have to compete with everyone. Oh, I have to be better than everyone else. And start doing that. And also they're doing maintenance work around the complex. So if you hear people or equipment in the background, yeah, that's what they're doing. But you don't want to get into that low frequency energy where you're like, I have to be the best. I have to be better than this person. I have to be better than that person. No, don't get in that energy. Just be like, I have to be better than me. I have to be better than I was yesterday. Did I learn something new this week that I didn't know last week? Even if you see people doing, quote unquote, better than you, be happy for them. If someone happens to make it in the news, okay, great, be happy for them. If someone happens to make it, let's say you're a musician and you've been doing music for years, and you happen to have a friend who started doing music for like a month, and then all of a sudden they're in the top 10 on Billboard, and you're looking like, wait a second, I've been doing this for 5 years. They just started doing this for a month and they just made it into the top 10 on, what the hell? Don't be in that energy. It doesn't serve you. The energy doesn't serve you. As long as you are putting your best foot forward, as long as you are learning what you can learn, as long as you are evolving as an individual, as long as you are running your race, that's all that matters. And over time, you will become better and better because you keep evolving is what you keep doing. You keep evolving. But when you get stuck in this low frequency energy of, oh, I have to be the best on my job. Oh, I have to be the best here and there. And like I said before, some people will throw you into a competition. They'll do that. You may get thrown into a competition with someone else on your job. When it comes to a promotion, or when it comes to a raise, or when it comes to whatever, pick your poison, because that's what people do. People, competition, and I believe in meritocracies. I do believe in that. I believe that the most competent person and the most skilled person should get the prize. That's how it should be. However, if your skills are lacking, don't worry about it. Just continue to get better. But don't focus on everyone else's skills, because you'll continue to get bitter. That's the difference. I had to use a little bit of my editing skills here. I'm adding in this last part, as I was closing out the show, I mentioned the maintenance people earlier, doing the weed eating and all that stuff. The guy literally came up to the window while I was closing out the show. So all you heard was weed eater. And I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to go ahead and just cut that out and do this again with closing out the show. Anyways, I hope that everyone is having an amazing day. And I really, really hope that what I said resonated with some of you. Don't worry about competing with others. Just compete with yourself. We all want to be better at what we do, and we all want to be the best, and there's nothing wrong with that. You can still want to be the best and not compete. And I know that sounds a little bit like, wait a second, what? Yeah, you can still want to be the best and not compete. You're not partaking in the what's the word? Universe, what is the word? Mindset. That's it. Thank you. You're not partaking in the mindset of what other people partake in, where, oh, you're competing against another person, you want to be the best. It's just more like, no, I want to be the best, but I'm not partaking in how you view competition, is what I'm talking about. Again, when you compete with yourself, you become better. When you compete with others, you become bitter. Just like with me, with my podcast. When I first started this podcast, my thing was I just wanted to be better at it. I wanted to get better at it. I wanted to do more stuff. I had certain things I wanted to do, and I accomplished those things. And now I've added more things to the list of what I want to do. Because as I mentioned before, I mentioned this in one of my episodes, my biggest thing was, for those who may be new listeners, if you're my longtime Firebirds, you already know this. My biggest thing was I wanted this show on as many platforms as possible. That was my biggest thing. Because the agreement that I have with Anchor, which carries this podcast, as you know, through all of my advertisements for them, because, you know, they pay. That they only have a limited amount of distribution. It's like 7 or 8 platforms, I think 9 at the most. And that wasn't enough for me. And it wasn't a thing of, oh, well, these other podcasters are on all these other platforms. I wasn't even thinking about that. I didn't care about that. It was a thing where, okay, I'm only on these platforms, but I want to be on more platforms. So I made it my mission to get on more platforms, to seek out Pandora, to seek out iHeartRadio, to seek out Amazon Music, and so on and so forth. I did a ridiculous amount of research to see how to get my podcast distributed on other platforms. And in some cases, like Pandora and Amazon and iHeartRadio, I had to submit and see if they would approve, because that's what you have to do. And I got approved. For others, all I had to do was just submit, and they approved it in like a second. And that was it. But I accomplished that goal competing with myself. It wasn't, oh, well, Joe Rogan is on a gazillion platforms. I want to be on as many platforms as Joe Rogan. No, I don't care. Now, do I want to be bigger than Joe Rogan? Yeah, I want to be, in my mind, because don't forget, I have ego. You can listen to that episode too. I want to be bigger than everyone, but I'm not competing against everyone. That's the thing. I want to be bigger than Joe Rogan. I want to be bigger than Oprah. I want to be bigger than Rush Limbaugh, God rest his soul. I want to be the biggest podcaster, entertainer ever. That is what I want. Am I competing with everyone along the way? Absolutely not, because I do not care. I'm not oblivious to what they're doing. I just don't care what they're doing, if that makes sense. All I care about is what I'm doing, because I'm competing with myself. And that's my message to you. You don't have to be oblivious to what other people are doing, but at the same time, you don't have to care about what they're doing. Just run your race, compete with yourself, and you will become better. It's going to happen. You'll become better. As long as you compete with yourself and you keep doing more than you did previously, it's pretty much guaranteed you'll become better. So that is what I have. I can close this out without the weed eater right by my window now. kirwkc.com, main podcasting platform. This podcast is carried on Apple, Spotify, Google, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Overcast, Bullhorn, Amazon Music, Audible, and several other podcasting platforms. Please feel free to listen to this podcast on whatever platform is most convenient for you. KIRWKC on all the social media platforms. Until next time, be blessed.